Hi, and welcome to another episode of the First Home Buyer Program podcast. On today's podcast, I wanted to talk about how you can get into your property with no deposit at all. Now, I know that first home buyers are struggling to get into the market, and the two major barriers that I see are getting the deposit together, being able to save that 20% deposit or even your 8% deposit. With property prices at the moment, it can be a struggle. And also around being able to borrow enough with the bank. So today I wanted to have a look at the deposit side and more specifically, how you can buy a home with no deposit. This type of no deposit home loan is actually called a family guarantee, and it's where you have preferably parents, but a family member go guarantor for you in your purchase. Now, a lot of the time when I'm talking to first home buyers about this option, it gets shut down quite quickly, and I find it's typically because first home buyers and people in general don't know how it works, and therefore they think that they don't qualify, or they haven't had the discussion with their parents. So a lot of the time I'll say to first home buyers, you don't have quite enough deposit. If you talk to your parents, these are the kind of things that you can be telling them how it works. And if they want to know more, they can make an appointment with me to discuss it. And 90% of the time, the parents will call me in the coming days to talk about it in more detail and find out if it's something they can help. In fact, I've even had it on occasion where a first home buyer will call me back the next day after our appointment and say their parents are absolutely thrilled to be able to help them in any way possible and not having to put cash forward. They're jumping with joy with the ability to help their kids get into their first home. So how does a family guarantee work? Effectively, we're using two properties as security. So what the bank looks for is ideally a 20% deposit when you purchase your first home. 20% deposit means that you're not paying any extra costs in lender's mortgage insurance. Now, if you don't have that 20% in cash, you can use 20% equity share in your parents' property. So this means your parents may already have a mortgage, but if they have enough equity, so the value of their property is high enough and their loan amount is low enough that they've got enough equity to go guarantor for you, then this will still work. So your parents don't have to put up any cash towards the purchase. They are using their property as security, and therefore you don't need to put up any cash. You can use your property as security as well. And with the two securities together, there's enough equity that you're at 80% loan to value ratio. Now, there are a couple of things that you need to be wary of here. And the first is I always encourage first home buyers to have some savings of some kind, especially if you're still living at home with mum and dad. And the reason being is we want to be able to show the bank that, yes, you can meet that new repayment of a mortgage, because we don't want to put your mum and dad in a position where they may have to sell their home. But also because there are extra costs involved when it comes to purchasing with guarantors. And one of them is your parents need to get legal advice to make sure that they are comfortable and they have really been told what's involved with going guarantor. And that legal advice comes at a fee. So having the cash available where you can pay for things like the legal advice, the solicitor costs, and all those extra little bills is something I'd strongly encourage you to have. And finally, the more deposit you have, the less you have to borrow. The less you have to borrow, the less interest you pay, the smaller your repayments, and the better it is for you. So I still encourage you to have some savings, but certainly you don't necessarily have to have your full 8, 20%, or even 5% deposit. Now, how we structure a family guarantee loan is also a little bit different because we really want to try and protect the guarantors as much as possible. But at the end of the day, there is still a risk for the guarantors. And this is something that the broker will have a discussion with without the applicants present. So the guarantors realise that there is a risk there. And it's also something that gets covered off on when the guarantors are seeking legal advice. The key here is there is absolutely a risk, and that risk is if you stop paying on your loan, then the bank will repossess your property and fire sell it. If they make a loss, they go to the guarantors for the amount they guaranteed and hit them up, basically. And this is the risk. Now, in my time as a mortgage broker, nearly 7 years now. I'm getting old. It's nearly 7 years. I've done quite a lot of family guarantee loans. And in 100% of the cases, I have not had this happen. But like I say, we still need to talk about that risk with the guarantors and make sure that they're comfortable. Now, a common question I get from guarantors is we're looking to sell our property, so we don't want to go guarantor because we're looking to downsize in the next year or so. And this is something that can still happen. Guarantors can still guarantee your property and then downsell down the track. In fact, I'm working with some clients now who did a family guarantee last year and now the parents have sold their property and they're downsizing. There's absolutely still ways around it. That the end goal for a applicant who has a guarantor on their loan is to smash down their loan as quick as they can, build as much equity in their property as they can. So as soon as we can get a valuation on that property to say that your loan is currently 80% LVR without the guarantors, so 80% loan to value ratio without the guarantors, then we can remove the guarantors completely. So it's not like a 30-year term that they're signing up for. It's as soon as there's enough equity in your property to kick them off, that's our end game. So guys, that's it from me. If you want to know more about family guarantee, you are absolutely welcome to book an appointment with me where we can go through the ins and outs and find out if it's something that would suit you and your family. But otherwise, I hope you have a great day and I'll catch you next week.